they're not going to say Shapiro's a Jew. But you and I both know, and Rich knows too, there is no way that wasn't an important factor in his rejection.
Honestly, Megyn, some of them are coming out and saying it, right? And the thing about Josh Shapiro is he's not just a Jew. He's an observant Jew. He keeps kosher, right? This is a person who has a deep connection to his Jewish heritage. Of course, that was not the reason to pick him. The reason to pick him was he could have delivered the one state Kamala Harris absolutely needs to win in order to win the presidency, right? So on the one hand, you have the guy who could deliver the one state she actually needs in order to win, right? And on the other hand, you have somebody who is a far left progressive, as you said, who, what's his big claim to fame? He coined the term weird for J.D. Vance. So obviously she went with Tim Walz. I mean, it's so amazing, Megyn. And there is simply so little effort being put by the far left progressive wing of the party to mask the fact that this was simply about Josh Shapiro having a strong, proud Jewish identity and opposing anti-Semitism on college campus. They have been explicit about this, and the Democratic Party has caved to the anti-Semites. That is what we're seeing here.
We have here Karen Attiah of the Washington Post, who has been one of the nastiest commentators on the Israel-Hamas war. She was celebrating in the streets once Israel was attacked, long before they really began their retaliation campaign. She was one of the people who liked, this is what decolonization looks like within a day or two of the attack. Columnist for the Washington Post. She's thrilled about Governor Walz. She tweeted out, looking forward to Walz donkey stomping Vance in a VP debate. Walz is full of persona, charisma, experience, and authenticity. Vance is a shape-shifting, woman-hating, weirdo sellout. He's going to tap out in 46 seconds like that weepy Italian boxer. I'm here for it. LFG.
Gosh.
Do you believe that? So she's got it all in there. Rich, this is classy. Washington Post. Just so thrilled they didn't go with that other guy who is somehow weirdly objectionable, the governor of Pennsylvania.
This is just mind-boggling because obviously Pennsylvania is the whole ballgame, right? Trump's not winning without it. She's not winning without it. 10,000 votes could matter. I don't think picking Shapiro would have delivered Pennsylvania, but it potentially could have helped 10,000, 20,000, whatever, in a narrow race that could be decisive for the entire election. So that she didn't pick him. He's popular there. The Fox News poll had him at 61%. He has executive experience. He's obviously bright. He's glib. So it does make you go, and scratch your head. You can't know exactly what the internal deliberations were, but the entire public argument, there are a few other things thrown in, but most of it was that he was a pro-Israel Jew, and he was apologetic over it. He was very defensive over this college op-ed he wrote 20 or 30 years ago saying the Palestinians are the problem and the reasons why we can't have peace, which is obviously true, but that's considered oppo now in the Democratic Party. So instead she went with this guy who seems to me to be an MSNBC anchor's idea of what what being folksy and having appeal to the middle of the country is. I don't get it at all. And another factor here with Shapiro may have been he's quite good, and she may have felt there's a potential that he would outperform her, that people would comment on that the fact that he's better at this, and she felt threatened by him. Also might have been an element of it here, but clearly, it's a left-wing choice. This isn't a moderate choice whatsoever. She's doubling down on the left.
There's some support for that second theory, Rich, coming from Fox News' Jackie Henrich, tweeting out, 2 sources confirm on background the deciding factor in the VP choice was what Senator Fetterman of Pennsylvania said publicly. Concerns that Mr. Shapiro's own personal ambitions would cause him to upstage or override Harris. The video produced by the Philly mayor team solidified this sentiment on Friday, the implication being that Shapiro had something to do with that sort of pre-release, making it look like he was the choice. But Shapiro's team saying they had no idea that the mayor's office was doing that or releasing that. But the point is, they're trying to say, okay, he was getting ahead of himself. Batya, I read that and I think that's her people trying to say, it's not the fact that he is an observant Jew. It's that he got too big for his britches.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think, you pointed out that Pelosi and Obama were behind Walz, whereas actually President Biden was backing Shapiro, right? So again, we see this big, power exchange happening, the center of gravity in the party. And of course, that is the most important thing about Kamala Harris, right? She is sort of, Democratic factory settings, right? She has no independent convictions of her own. She reflects where she thinks the center of gravity of the party is. And so looking ahead to this last week, I was saying I really hope she picks Shapiro because it will signal to Jewish American voters, look, of course there is this anti-Semitic campaign against Shapiro, but the leadership is not listening to that. The leadership would never fall for something this disgusting. The leadership knows that in order to win the presidency, we need to win Pennsylvania. And so we're going to go with the guy who has 61% approval in Pennsylvania. And instead, what did Kamala Harris do? She signaled to the country that the center of gravity of the Democratic Party right now is with the pro-Hamas protesters. And anybody who said anti-Semitism will not be tolerated is going to get the boot. And I think Jewish Americans are paying very close attention to that. The signal that was given to them is you need to tell your children now that you cannot be the vice president of the United States if you are a Jew. That cannot happen for you because the center of gravity of the party is on its knees begging to be recognized by anti-Semitic young people. Apparently, that was the message of this choice.
Yeah, you can't. If you want to run as a Democrat, it's a no. I mean, even if you're the governor of Pennsylvania, the must-win state in the entire contest in a nail-bitingly close race, it won't be enough, sweetheart. You'll have to find something else to believe in if you want that role. It's just absolutely disgusting. It's so on the nose. These are the people who want to be our moral betters, who claim to be rich, who are constantly lecturing us about bigotry and inclusion. It's a lie. They're all for inclusion when it's men and women's sports, like this Karen Attia laughing at the pain of that Italian boxer. But when the inclusion looks like a man who happens to be Jewish, it's a...
Yeah, and this is not like this wouldn't have been a history-making choice, right? It's been done before, most recently with Joe Lieberman. So we've actually seen backsliding among Democrats and on the left, where this would be actually a big deal, having a Jewish running mate who's somewhat favorable to Israel. It's not like Shapiro's one of us, right? He's just relatively moderate compared to the rest of the party. And the choice of Walz does show where the center of gravity of the party is. And it's not where Joe Biden is, right? Joe Biden has, even though he's kowtowed to the left in all sorts of appalling ways, he is a preacher of another time and has certain instincts on being pro-Israel, in favor of our allies, kind of patriotism, that Kamala Harris does not have. She is a woke progressive. She had all those positions in 19 and 20 that she's now disavowed, that Joe Biden never would have adopted, or only adopted them under extreme pressure. She did it of her own free will because she thought that's where the party was going. And now she's trying to moderate, but this choice just does not make sense on that level.
If you're tired of the same old coffee from those mega corporations pushing their woke agendas, listen up. It's time to take a stand and support a brand that embodies American values. At Blackout Coffee, they stand with hardworking Americans who believe in family, faith, and freedom. They roast some of the most incredible coffee you will ever taste using only premium grade beans. And guess what? They roast and ship within 48 hours. And that ensures that you get the freshest coffee possible. You could start your day with a bold cup of Blackout Coffee and be delighted just like yours truly. Plus, it's not just coffee, it's a statement. Why settle for less? Make the switch to Blackout Coffee today by heading over to blackoutcoffee.com/MK, or just use the code MK for 20% off your first order. That's blackoutcoffee.com/MK, and the code is MK. Join the movement. Taste the difference. Remember, with every sip, you're supporting a brand that stands for America. Be awake, not woke. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.